Welcome to Mentoring Unlocked, hosted by Lindley, founder of Serendipitous Leadership and MentorKey, the platform making mentoring impactful and elevating workplace development conversations. Maud is a renowned executive coach and leadership strategist with over 2 decades of experience, helping leaders unlock their full potential through adaptive leadership and meaningful mentoring. Tune in for personal mentoring stories, expert insights, practical tools, and bold conversations. Whether you're a mentor, mentee, or a culture shaper, there's something for you.
Jo Mikleus, thank you so much for joining me on the Mentoring Unlocked podcast.
Pleasure, Maud.
Jo, we've known each other for, I want to say 10 years. It's probably 8 or 9, actually.
It's been 10.
When you have been first a mentor on the Women in Banking and Finance program, and you, I remember, came with such generosity, such insight and energy. You absolutely enchanted your mentees. You came back several years in a row, and then we struck a friendship. And more recently, you gave me the honor to give me your time and wisdom to be on the board, the advisory board for MentorKey. So I'm so grateful to have you on the podcast. For those who don't know you, you've had a long experience as an executive. You've had some very senior roles in like large, banking institutions in Australia. You've then become the CEO of technology scale-ups. You've had a startup yourself in AI. Today, you're a non-executive director. You hold positions on boards that are listed, private equity owned, and you also do some work, pro bono with a variety of organizations like MentorKey. You also obviously are part of Chief Executive Women, so you do a lot for people. I really value your contribution so much. So thank you for being here and sharing a little bit of your insights, a little bit of your wisdom with our listeners who are themselves mentors, mentees, or people charged with the very important job of putting together a mentoring program. Jo, welcome. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Maud. It's a real pleasure and an honour, actually, to be asked to be on your podcast.
Jo, let's start with your career. You have had quite a varied career. I've always been very impressed in how you were able to articulate, this is what I can bring, this is what I can contribute to each role. Can you tell us what the golden thread has been throughout those different experiences?
I guess I had a long time in financial services, 26 years at one company at ANZ, a few years at Latitude Financial, and then, as you said, was CEO of a data and technology company and had my own little AI company as well. I think the thread that is really enduring through my entire career, there are a few things, I think. One is the importance of having the customer at the centre of your strategy and kind of how you bring to bear the products and services that you have. So that is a really important element for me. A second part is the importance of leadership, actually. I was maybe lucky, maybe it's a little bit about my personality, but I was lucky to have been given my first leadership role at the age of 23 in a time where in banking it wasn't, my peers were all kind of 55 years old. They were all of the opposite gender than me. So it really showed me, I guess, the impact that you can have as a leader. And I really fell in love with that role of leadership. And I think it was at that moment that I probably subconsciously decided to be more of a generalist and focus on how to get the best out of the team and people as a really important performance accelerator. And so that, I think, has been an enduring feature for me. The fact that I've been in financial services, there's a whole lot of business acumen, risk management that kind of comes with part of the job. So that's kind of a bit of a given. But I guess I've always gravitated to roles where there is a growth element. So a personal growth element for me, but also growing a business, creating value for the organisation. That's been an enduring feature as well.
And doing this with the customer in mind, and with that sense of what inspires me when I hear you talk, or even when you advise me in the growth of the business, is that strategic lens that you bring to growth, is to understand perhaps what you haven't seen before. So I love the way you shine lights on the blind spots always. And I guess that's why you were a leader at the age of 23, is that people had identified that from you.
Well, in some ways, back in those days, the role that you did and the organisation, it's quite a commoditised business. There's 4 big banks, there's a bunch of regional banks. It's kind of, everyone knows what banking is. So what's your differentiator and kind of how you bring that to bear? And, in the early days, if I was a branch manager and one of 900 branch managers, how do you differentiate yourself and kind of be a high performer?
Yeah.
Well, we've all got customers. They're the ones that actually pay your bills. And so if you can kind of think about your strategy and success in that way, I think you get the dual benefits of obviously delighting customers, but also getting the commercial outcomes that you need to run a sustainable business. And just, I guess I've always kind of thought about the clues that are available that help to see what the future lies as well. And I think that's where my love for innovation has kind of come, when you kind of see exciting new technologies and start to imagine how they might be applied to your business. I think that has been the fun part of, when you talk about strategy, like how do you incorporate those elements into a strategy and strategic thinking as well.
How do you find the clues though? I mean, because today we're all in that game of trying to understand what will it look like, not even in 10 years, but in 2 years' time. How do you find the clues?
There's a little bit of creativity and imagination involved, but when you expose yourself to new technologies and different ideas, and then you try and think about how they might translate into a business somewhat. It might not be exactly, but, there might be a translation of some description. I think that's how you start to find the clues. Thinking about it today, there is a lot of change right now. Technology is moving very, very fast. It's really hard to keep up. But there are clues with how things are developing in the consumer space and in the developer space that kind of help me to see how that might evolve in an enterprise and a corporate space. And so I just think about those developments and then how it might translate to a business, and importantly how it might be a benefit to the customer, like back to the customer again, how it might be able to deliver a benefit to the customer. And the holy grail for me, Maud, is if we can get great customer outcomes, great business outcomes in a safe and secure way. So you've got a resilient business as well. And then you've kind of developing your team in the process. If you can get those 4 things right, that's just,
tick, 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 done.
Tick, tick, tick. Yeah. Just trying to think through, how you might be able to achieve that in the most efficient way.
Yeah. For me, that's the value that you bring to the boards that you're on, is that multifaceted strategic lens of not just, what the customer wants. Although I think that what you've demonstrated and what you said is to be able to watch the clues or pay attention to the insights that are really going to inform, like give you some good intel into what the future looks like. You actually have to get yourself out of your area of expertise and look at perhaps consumers from a different lens than the B2B business that you're in, so that you bring that knowledge in. So you do that extremely well, but I think you also bring that financial rigor, that compliance rigor, as you say, for the sustainability of the organization.
When I started or co-founded my AI company, my co-founder was the most brilliant software engineer that I'd ever met, and he was a real creative, but he actually didn't have the business understanding
The
of kind of what the problems were to be solved in
that he had solved.
Right. And so he would show me the technology and I'd go, oh, that's interesting, but could you use that, like what you've built there, could you use that to solve this problem? And he'd say, yeah, sure. I didn't realize that was a problem, but yes, we could definitely do that. So it's kind of like about connecting the dots of, you know, understanding the capability of the technology, what it can do, but then also translating it to the business problem to be solved. And ultimately those business problems kind of, you know, lead back to the customer outcomes as well. So
I feel compelled to say to our listeners that I was super interested in watching what you were doing with your business at was it Corticare? And one day we had lunch and you sat down and you said, ChatGPT literally took us off the map.
That's right.
So you had a mini ChatGPT in your hands.
We did,
and and obviously the launch of OpenAI completely disrupted what you were doing, but it doesn't matter because you had actually that use case you were creating, and credit to you and your founder.
Well, actually for me, it was all about understanding the technology and being really close to the technology. It was never about being a $1 billion company for me.
Of course.
It was, and for my co-founder as well. So we were very aligned in terms of we didn't want to get big. He wanted to create bleeding edge technology. I wanted to understand it and kind of work out how I could be a better executive.
Yes.
And also help him to create better technology. So it was kind of like a great partnership in that way. But yes, we were disrupted by the rise of ChatGPT.
Well, what an honour, actually.
Yes, that's right. But before that, super interesting. It was actually hard to find enlightened executives to kind of believe that the product would be valuable. I mean, that's the difference that 3 years has made.
Yeah, you were too early.
Everybody understands the power of the technology now, and even if you're only using it for its most basic purposes, you know, summarization or, you know, helping you to polish off an email or whatever, everybody understands now. I think there's a broad-based understanding of what the technology can do, but, you know, maybe not to the depth of what it is capable of. So
but it's definitely accelerating the understanding of how you can use the technology, whereas perhaps at the time it was not believed. Jo, let's talk about mentoring. Because with everything you've just shared, I'm dying to know, you know, who are the mentors who have helped you shape who you are today?
I think there have been many, and perhaps not one consistent over the 35 years or whatever since I've been working. But I think about the disruption, the restructures, the new roles, being out of my depth sometimes, and the mentors that have helped me at those different moments. There have been many, and a bit of a combination of inspiring line managers as well as people on the outside of the organisations that I'm working with to just help me to take the emotion out of whatever change or disruption is being felt, and help me to kind of think with clarity about how to maybe take on a risk or make a good judgment about the situation that I was in. And, you know, these people don't have to be experts in the field. And when you think about now, you know, like we're in probably the most disruptive era of all time, and nobody's got experience right now, not even the most experienced kind of executive or mentor. And so I think it's really about asking the right questions or prompting the right questions and thought processes that makes a good mentor. And certainly that's what I've benefited for because it helps you to think about a problem or a situation in a different way that maybe you wouldn't have thought about yourself.
So what I'm hearing is those mentors helped you unpack your thinking. They didn't provide any answers. They actually asked questions that allowed you to rethink or reorganize your thinking around an issue?
Yes.
You also said they took away the emotions, or they helped actually unpack the emotions versus the thinking. So asking the right questions, what else did they do that, if you think of critical moments of insight or, big aha moments you've had thanks to these mentors, can you think of moments or give us examples even of moments that mattered?
I had one mentor who really believed in me at a time in my life where I didn't think it was possible to take the next step in my career. I had 3 babies at home. I was kind of working part-time. My husband was commuting 2 hours away, and an idea was put in front of me to kind of take on a really big role in another state. And this mentor actually helped me think through what it was I was doing today, that I was actually fully prepared for the role and fully equipped, capable to do the role, and helped me to understand the risks, the personal risks that I might be taking, but what the mitigants might be, and ultimately helped me to make the decision to uproot my family and move to regional Australia and kind of take on that opportunity. And I guess they were really critical, not only in that decision-making part of the process, but also once I landed in that new role to kind of be a sounding board for the situations that maybe I hadn't come across on my own before. So it wasn't just like a moment in time. It was kind of helping me to take the leap, but then also being there to support and kind of mentor through that exponential growth phase that everybody has when they take on a new role.
Yeah. What stands out for me when I'm listening to you talk about this experience is that person really believed in you.
Yes.
It sounds like that person wanted you to take the role, and they helped you get there mentally to actually back yourself to take the role. How do you think they've navigated between not actually influencing you too much, but giving you the confidence to make the decision on your own and to make what they thought probably was the right decision?
I guess they took the time to understand me well. I mean, there was no vested interest on that person in me taking the role or not. But they did take the time to really understand me and what my motivations were and what my risk appetite was, and then kind of helped to not downplay, but there were a lot of other things going on in my life at that time and lots of complicating factors, but helped to break them down into kind of manageable bite-sized pieces so that it wasn't so mountainous of an achievement to make. So I think they did that particularly well. But I think the key is just, investing that time up front and understanding the individual. And I guess if I didn't have the risk appetite, it would have actually not been appropriate actually for them to kind of be so encouraging. But maybe they were just kind of helping me to make the decision that I should have always made. Like I've got no regrets. It was the best. It was a great experience, tough experience, but lots and lots of learning and helped me to kind of elevate and into roles that I, didn't imagine were even possible. So
I'm thinking of mentors who are listening to us right now and maybe in a situation where they can see the amazing potential ahead of their mentee and their mentee is reluctant to take that step. Yeah. What would you say are the critical approach or guardrails, or what should a mentor think and prepare ahead of that next conversation with their mentee, if that's the context?
Presumably this is kind of going over a period of time and understanding what the ambition is of the mentee, I think is important. And maybe making an assessment either together or in one's own mind as to, what the potential gaps might be, and then kind of working on a plan to close those gaps. Yes. So I think that's really important. And then acknowledging the achievements that are made along the way, like the milestones. And I think if you've had a good conversation up front, there's kind of an honest assessment about readiness.
Yes.
And then transitioning into you're getting towards that readiness point. What are you doing to kind of build your network or scan the environment for opportunities and that kind of thing? And so there's that. And then probably the other part that I think is quite important is holding your mentee to account, I guess, when commitments are made and then holding them to account to their own development.
Yes.
Yeah, at the end of the day, this is all kind of for them. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I love this. This is you just actually drafted a map of what a good mentor should do. The first thing you said is understanding the ambition.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess your mentor would not have supported you, nudged you towards that decision had they not thought that was aligned to your ambition.
Correct.
And so really helping your mentee clarify what they have in their gut ambition, right? What do you see? How do you see yourself if you have been successful and made the best out of your career in, 10, 15, 20 years time?
Yeah.
And then you said, and then really come down to that gap analysis. It could be something that you do together, but something that the mentor actually, from their own experience, assesses from the exposure they've had with the mentee, and then pragmatically focusing on bridging those gaps. And then before, you also talked about sort of taking away the emotions. So helping, how does a mentor do that? Sort of separate the emotions from the facts so that the mentee can really make a rational decision.
I think it's a little bit about creating some space for decompression.
Yeah.
So I think that is also is an important part of the process, and creating a safe space for that to happen.
Yes.
And then just like what you're doing with me, Maud, because you're an excellent mentor, is you are listening for clues in the conversation and playing those back and testing what's being said. So a good mentor does all of those things, right? And so through that process, I guess, as the mentee, first you've had the release. You've kind of got off your chest.
But it can only happen if it's super safe.
Right. So you've kind of, you've been able to decompress, and then having the opportunity to have someone play back some of the important elements is good. It's almost like a mirror, of reflection, and helping to, for the mentee to kind of see that. And if I'm the mentee, okay, I'm seeing something that I never saw before.
In that light.
Exactly. And maybe I was overreacting. My initial emotional reaction, you might have been an overreaction. So it just helps to kind of have that process. And then when you've got the chance also to reflect on what might your next steps be, then hopefully with a bit of wisdom, better judgment and better outcomes all round.
Yes. So asking question and really, really listening for clues in that safe way. But I love how you're illustrating that mirroring. If I repeat what I have heard, I'm putting it not in a different order, but maybe slightly different order, and I'm projecting it back. And as such, as a mentee, you're like seeing things in a way that you hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
So I guess, obviously, this is what you do as a mentor now, Jo. I know that. Tell me about your various roles as a mentor today, particularly because you have a really interesting position as a board member. It is part of your remit is to mentor execs. How do you use those skills? Do execs come to you for mentoring that easily?
It's a really interesting space and something very different to what I've been used to. So in your position as a board director, I guess there are a few opportunities to be a mentor. I chair committees on each of the boards that I'm on, and there is a responsible executive aligned to those committees. So say the audit committee, there's the chief financial officer who is the executive responsible. So there is a process part of the role that you play as chair, but there is also a mentoring part as well to make sure that we're getting the right outcomes for the organisation and so forth. And so that is an opportunity to play a mentoring role. In the context of the board, it is a collective. It's not one decision maker. It's actually a collective. And so there is an influencing mentoring role, I suppose, in terms of, you know, how the CEO is performing and the broader executive team. So they're probably the two in the boardroom type moments or opportunities to mentor. And outside of that, I have sought to find other places where I can continue to be a mentor. I don't lead teams or anything like that these days, but you know, I'm a group chair in a group kind of mentoring situation for CEOs, and that's really amazing, and that kind of sparks off some individual mentoring conversations along the way. And I also mentor an amazing female athlete, an elite athlete.
Ooh.
And I love that because, I mean, I get as much out of it as she might as well. But, you know, she's got a real high performance mindset, and it's really good to be reminded of you know, what high performance looks like and how to translate that. But it's an honour actually to take on that role.
Tell me, Jo, what do you gain personally from those mentoring experiences? What do you learn? How do you grow? You said you learn as much as your mentee. How does that happen?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest benefit for me is to see people flourish and see them kind of be the best version of themselves. So that is hugely satisfying. I think we all have different strengths, and people think about things in different ways. And the way I think about things is very different to how others might. And so I learn a lot from even how other people kind of approach problems and so forth. I mean, you talked about your own technology business, Mentor Key. I mean, you know, on those advisory board meetings, I've got to say, Maud, you know, you came really well prepared to get the most out of us as an advisory board. But equally, we walked away feeling so satisfied that we learnt something from you in those interactions. So I think they're the best mentoring relationships, actually, where it's not one-sided. There's actually like a mutual benefit. So that's what I love about it.
I'm connecting this with what you told us before about, I guess, how you bring that strategic lens to your various endeavors, which are really to look at the clues that will give you some insights into where the future might go. And so I'm wondering if those various mentoring opportunities, the various roles as a mentor that you have, sort of allow you to place yourself in very different contexts and therefore sort of feed that strategic brain of yours thinking about things in different ways.
100%. Well, actually, even the fact of being on a few boards, you know, there are trends sometimes that you see in one industry that is translatable to others. A lot of problems actually are most problems are, at the end of the day, could be boiled down to quite similar. But the creativity in how to solve those problems is different. And so that's kind of like the spark and the energy that you get. And by the way, I'm not brand new to this kind of board space, but in the scale of things, I might be doing this for 20 years. There's a lot about being on a board that I need to be mentored on as well. And so I'm really cognizant of the fact that there's perhaps dynamics that I haven't experienced yet. And so I think it's important for me to also be the mentee, continue to be learning and be the mentee and be the best version of me that I can be as well. So
brilliant. I love how you've woven mentoring into that board role, which is really about learning from different people and asking very pertinent questions to mirror back what has been shared and help people unpack their thinking in a pragmatic way so that they make the best decisions. And isn't that, you know, what boards are meant to do for companies?
Yes. Yes, we are.
We're nearly at time, but I don't want to finish before we actually do our rapid 5 questions.
Okay.
Would that be okay?
Okay.
So you meant to finish my sentence there. The biggest myth about mentoring is?
that it's about answers. It's actually about questions.
Yeah, brilliant. I love this. What is the leadership capability that mentoring is best placed to develop?
I think it's judgment. So, how you can make better decisions for yourself, for your own personal life, but also for the organisation that you're working for.
Yeah. Great. Tell me about perhaps the advice that you would have for the people who are listening to us right now who are in charge of creating maybe more formal mentoring programs. What would be your advice to create the amazing insights that you've shared with us today?
I think it's something that has to be pervasive throughout the business, not just owned in one part of the one functional area. I think to get the best out of mentoring, I would think about how could you efficiently cascade a program that benefits in some way, shape or form all parts of the organisation.
Creating a culture of mentoring.
Absolutely.
Rather than seeing it as
culture of learning and developing and growing and being the best version that you can be, and how to facilitate that inside an organisation. Internally, maybe sometimes you need to get outside help as well.
And seeing it as questions rather than answers.
Right.
And that's the culture that you want to.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
Do you have, I'm sure you have many, but do you have a podcast, a book, an article that has really been insightful for you recently?
So I'm not really a book reader, but I am a podcast listener. One that I really love is called Wiser Than Me.
Oh.
So the host is Julia Louis-Dreyfus, of Seinfeld fame, and she interviews women who are older than her, so in their kind of 70s, 80s and 90s.
Oh, brilliant.
And she's very, very well researched, understands them as an individual, and it's a great conversation that she has with them, and she really unpacks the wisdom that they've that they've garnered over their lifetime.
Amazing.
And the other part I love about it is at the end of the show, she kind of hangs up from interviewee, and she rings her own mother. Oh. And they debrief on the conversation.
Oh, amazing.
Because all of these women are her mother's generation, and so they kind of unpack it, and then you get her perspective as well. So it's a really lovely demonstration of respect and understanding and learning from generations that sometimes are not
respected
or heard in that way.
Brilliant. Wiser than me.
Wiser than me.
Okay, we'll look for it. Yeah. Very final question for you, Jo. The future of leadership is.
The future of leadership is human. In this world of AI, I think it's going to be more important than ever and more vital for us to be better leaders than probably ever in our past. So leadership is going to be leading people and agents, but it's going to be about the human dimension, I think, more than ever, and maybe even in a more artisan way than it's ever had to be in the past.
Well, you've definitely demonstrated that today. Thank you so much for being so open and vulnerable with us and sharing so many insights. Thanks so much, Jo. Really
Such a pleasure, Maud. Thank you.
Great to spend time with you.
You too.
Thanks for listening to Mentoring Unlocked. This podcast is powered by MentorKey, the platform designed to make mentoring impactful. If this episode unlocked inspiration within you, please follow, share, or leave us a review.